Hello, welcome back to another video on Fantasy Football Scout. It is Game Week 18 time, so we are of course talking free hit drafts. So I think the whole talk in the community right now is about the free hit. And I'm joined by Joe, who's going to talk through his current draft. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to game week 18 if it emerges. I've pressed the button, pulled the trigger, however you want to call it, on the free hit. I'm feeling a bit reckless, so hopefully it'll go ahead.
Did you hit it
Because
straight away? Did you hit it straight away?
no, not straight away. I did it. I did it last night because there were three price changes, key price changes to players of mine, particularly amongst Arsenal players. And at the same time, there were some players of mine that were going down in price, and that's going to continue. So I was gonna press the button at some point in the next few days, because at the moment the team I've got, I think I've got point 0.5 in the bank. I could, but I think just looking at the different permutations I've got, it's going to be really tight, and I don't think I would get any of the teams I particularly want if there's any more price changes. So I'm just taking a risk and hope for the best. I hope it
Yeah, I
goes ahead.
think I get why people are activating it late, and I've not done it yet for various reasons. But I think the chances of it all suddenly being called off to the point where it was not worth activating the free hit is so slim. But I guess in the current climate, it's maybe worth doing if prices aren't a factor.
Yeah.
I'll bring up your current team. So this is
Mhm.
what the team looks like before the free hit.
Yeah.
So you've only got one, two, three, four. Mitchell, I guess, is five, and Stevens is six. But I'm not sure especially Stevens, doesn't really
No.
count. So
No.
have you at any point thought about abandoning the free hit? Like,
No.
obviously, not now you won't, but the last couple of weeks plan was
No.
it always free
That
hit?
was the other reason. Now there are certain FPL managers who have maybe got six, seven, maybe eight very credible game week 18 players, and for them, they might be considering a free hit. They might be consider saving it and maybe just using a couple of hits and going with less players. And that's a decision to make. For me, as you can see with my team, I have no decision to make. Um, some of the 18 players I've got, game week 18 players I've got, I don't really want to play. And so I've really only got three or four credible players. So I'm already about six or seven players down. I don't think I've got the key players. For me, it's just an easy decision, as you can see by that team.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get on to the big stuff. What everyone's here for, which is the free hit team.
Mm.
So obviously, we're recording this on Monday. It's going to go out on Monday as well, and there's still over a week until we have to have this locked in. So as always, disclaimers: this might change,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
etc. But I'm sure there are some players in this team that, apart from injury, for example, are completely locked in. Is there a kind of
Mhm.
like top three or so players that you just know are not going to change?
Well, what I like for me about this free hit team is that there are certain sides that I ordinarily might not want long term or might not want for a number of matches, but they've got great fixtures in game week 18, so I can get in them. I think chief among them is Arsenal, and Arsenal's form has impressed me, and some of their players have impressed me. So I looked at last four matches, and the last four matches among those with games, in fact, amongst those, full stop. Palace are the worst in terms of big chances conceded. They've conceded 15. Now I know they've looked to have improved in the last couple of matches, and with Mitchell coming in as well. But I don't know whether he's going to be a permanent fixture there, whether Van Arnholt's going to get a run out again, whether he's going to regain his place. But either way, on paper, Palace amongst those teams have got the kind of defence where an attacking side will be able to exploit. And so I want to target Arsenal really. Last four game weeks, we've got Saka is top for 12 goal attempts amongst Arsenal assets. This is so he's even more than Lacazette with nine. And then going down that list, we can see that Tierney has created 11 chances. That's the most out of any Arsenal assets. So looking at my free hit side in game week 18, your question was sort of who's nailed in. So I just wanted to mention Tierney and Saka because they are great value. They're under they're 5 point something, under 6 million, definitely. They both went up in price last night. I see them as great differentials. I think that's a really good fixture for them. Tierney, really impressive. 18 points he got in the last game week. Going on, basically, his low socks and short sleeves into the snow. That's the kind of player I want. As we can see, he's the most creative outlet as well, and he's defender. And what I like, especially these types of weeks, attacking defenders. So you can get clean sheet, assists, goal potential, bonus, everything, and under 6 million.
Yeah, he's 5.4, so you're right. He went up in price last night. The Saka's gone up to 5.3. The good thing as well, just to back up some of those stats you said, is I was having a look this morning at some of the expected data, and I just did it for the whole season per match average. So obviously some teams have played less than others, but I did it on per match average. Palace are the worst defence in this game week. They're actually tied with Sheffield United. That's how bad that Palace have done this season. 1.51 expected goals conceded, and they're also the worst attack. Or, sorry, not the worst, but one of the worst. It's very, very close when it comes to worst attacks this week. Sheffield United, Newcastle, Burnley and Palace are all very close together. So that kind of backs up Arsenal attacker and Arsenal defence, especially given the price. The only, obviously, defence you've not, don't want to say cover, but there's no defender there from Man United. So Burnley's attack is also pretty blunt. But it's probably difficult to fit in like a Harry Maguire or Wan-Bissaka with those three defenders, I guess.
Okay, so looking at that now, it's funny you should mention that because also on my sort of maybe in my team list is Luke Shaw at Manchester United, and that's a sort of don't laugh, it's Luke Shaw. But yes, I do think that Burnley's attack versus Manchester United's defence, there's a possibility of a clean sheet there. I've also got a table in the members area on Fantasy Football Scout of attacking defenders. I clicked on the last 4 matches. Who has created the most chances out of any defenders over that time? It's Shaw. 4.8 he costs. Is that right? 4.8?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, now I've got 2 Manchester City defenders. I've got Stones and Cancelo. Cancelo I've got in there for attacking potential as well as clean sheet potential. They are playing Brighton. Brighton are very porous when it comes to defending set pieces, but they've also got a goal or two in them, as we saw against Wolves and as we've seen against some of the bigger sides. And they've given Manchester City a run for their money in recent seasons as well. So Stones could make way indeed because if I think there might be a chance that Brighton will score a consolation goal, whatever, Stones to Luke Shaw is an option. Then I've got Arsenal, Newcastle defence, City and United all covered there, and I think they've got the most chance of a clean sheet. And I'm still slightly wary of losing clean sheets. Now I don't have double Manchester City defence. A lot of people did over the weekend. How amazing it must have been for them when Hudson-Odoi pops up in the 92nd minute to wipe out their double clean sheets. I don't want that to be happening with Connolly popping up in the 93rd minute for Brighton to get a consolation goal in a 4-1 victory for City. So Manchester United. I know you're a supporter, but yeah, Luke Shaw on my list.
Yeah, I think the good thing we've got between now and Tuesday for the deadline is we'll have had the EFL Cup matches and the FA Cup, because the only downside to Luke Shaw is he's got a bit of competition. Whereas the likes of Harry Maguire, he's definitely starting. Wan-Bissaka is definitely starting when he's fit. Whereas Luke Shaw has Tellez. That's the only thing. But Luke Shaw was brilliant against Aston Villa. I don't know how many chances he created in that game, but in terms of the eye test, he was decent. So, yeah, I kind of like that shout. But I think double City defence, I guess the flip side to going double City defence is double City attack. Now, trying to guess rotation is tricky. Wow. Obviously, Aguero hasn't had hardly any minutes, but Sterling, for example, would be an option. Is there any consideration there?
Yeah, so there were consideration. I did put a draft together with Sterling, De Bruyne and Stones. So that means I'm going out without that attacking threat in defence. I just think in terms of value for money, trying to maximise the points spreading across these players across the 11. I think that it would cut too many corners for me, and I think I can get more bang for my buck with some other players. Now, I've actually for the last couple of months really, I've been concentrating a lot of my budget on 4 heavy hitters, and I've had a huge number of green arrows since then. I've gone up about. I'm around the million mark. I was around the 4 million mark, so I've gone up about 3 million places with that strategy. I think Game Week 18 doesn't look like that strategy to me. It doesn't look like pile the money into 2 or 3 players. It looks like try and maximize most you can because it's a free hit after all.
To be fair, it depends what your definition of a premium asset is, but I would say kind of 9.5 or over is starting to get there, and you've got 5. You got Kane, Rashford, De Bruyne, and Son, and Fernandes, and the defense still looks good. So I think there is an option there to pile.
Oh yeah, well, I'm by premium. I'm talking the sort of the 12 million,
plus.
the 11 million type of players. And luckily Liverpool. God, thank God Liverpool don't have a game here because I could really do without 12.5 million player trying to squeeze them in. But yeah, De Bruyne and Fernandes and Kane I'm going for there. And I think Son is still really good value and Rashford. But yeah, I get what you said. They're sort of the lower end of the premium.
Yeah, you still. What I'm saying is, you still got a lot of fit in there. I mean, obviously you've got to put Saka in, but Saka is such a good enabler this week. That I'd say he'd be in a lot of free hit size. I'd say 50% plus at this point. We'll have to obviously wait and see, but I'd say it'd be high.
I mean, one of my other decisions, as well as maybe getting Sterling in, which I think I've pretty much discounted that. Is my other decisions. I've got Wilson up front against Sheffield United. Sheffield United look awful. And Wilson has a goal or 2 in him, as we know. So it's Wilson and Rashford I've got at the moment. I think I'm going to get points from them, but that could become Lacazette and a Villa midfielder because there's value there with the likes of El Ghazi and Lacazette. So looking at my Arsenal table that I've got, so Saka's obviously the one to get. 5 chances created, 12 goal attempts, but Lacazette 4 chances created, 9 goal attempts. He's also getting in the penalty box very often. I've seen lots of other stats being floating around about. I think he's in the top 3 for attacking threat at the moment. So there's a resurgence there. He's a good option. He's a very good option.
Yeah, Arteta has been talking him up a bit as well. They've been mentioning him playing that central role, and he's been impressed with what he's done. And I guess, Arsenal haven't been completely awful this season, but they've not had good results, and they're starting to get them now. So how much Arteta is going to want to change that attack, you'd think probably not. Now the results are going in, and another win against Palace looks very likely. So, yeah, a lot of people are now looking at Lacazette. I think he could be an option. Although Lacazette and El Ghazi versus Rashford and Wilson, that's probably quite close. I really like Wilson this week because he's on penalties. If he's fit, he's going to play pretty much 90 minutes. And Sheffield United just cannot buy a win at all. They're really bad.
And also, Wilson's a great example of a free hit player to get in. Do I want Wilson in my team? Not really. But do I want him for one-off against one of the shoddiest teams the Premier League has seen for some number of years? I mean, Sheffield United, where what they were last season and what they are now, it's just poles apart. And I think a lot of people still slightly in the mindset that Sheffield United can be tough. And they can't be.
Yeah.
And Wilson can exploit that because he still is absolutely top level.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Sheffield United are just not good this year at all. I've completely, like last year, you see their defence, you'd be like, I don't really want my attacker playing this week. It's probably 1, maybe 2 goals max, but yeah, this year not great at all. One player that's not, to be honest, not just not in your team, but one player I've not seen in many teams at all is he would be the 3rd highest scoring midfielder who's playing this week, Jack Grealish. Obviously up against Spurs, not really too highly priced. I think he's about 7.7 million, so he doesn't break the bank. But what do you make of that Spurs Villa game? Because they're 2 good defences and 2 pretty good attacks as well.
2 good defences. What does that mean? It means I don't want to invest in their attack, really. But now this is why have I got Kane and Son? We've seen this week. We've seen every week. Kane and Son are so highly owned. Now I went into this game with just Kane, and I captained him. So this is game week 17. I didn't have Son. Son pretty much scored the same as Kane. So there's people there with both and will have captained one. I actually took, in that segment of the game week, a red arrow within that bit. I actually lost ranking points, even though my captain got me 12 points, got me 24 points. So that's the power of them. They're so well owned. It goes back to the old swords and shields. You need swords and shields. Who are my shields? It's Kane and Son. They're there. I mean, Saka could do really well. Tierney could do really well. And all that hard work of those differentials and choosing them and looking at the stats, completely undone by a Son brace. There we go. So well owned. Gone. Red arrow. And I would come out of game week 18 with my free hit with a red arrow. Not keen. So that's why they're there. You asked about the defense as well. Top for big chances. The best team, the last 4 matches, big chances conceded is Spurs and City. They've only conceded 3. In comparison, Crystal Palace have conceded 15 over that period. Villa have conceded 5, just 5. So with just 3 big chances conceded, just 5 by Villa over the last 4 matches, that says to me that's going to be cagey. So Grealish is a possibility, but I don't think he's necessary.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, I'm just looking at the fixtures now, you've got representation from every single match apart from one, which is Wolves versus Everton. So obviously Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored since game week 11, I think now. Obviously he was in a lot of teams. Rodriguez is back. Richarlison's back too. No Luka D. And obviously Wolves' attack hasn't been great, but Saiss has started popping up recently. Lots of headed attempts. Do you think there's anything in that match, or do you think it's just worth ignoring?
I can't call it. I don't know who's going to win that. I don't know whether it's going to be 0-0. I don't know whether it's going to be 3-3. What we're seeing with Arsenal is a resurgence in their attack. So I want to tap into that. Will Everton's attack become resurgent against Wolves? Possibly, but I don't know whether it will. And so they're a kind of team. If the last couple of Everton matches had seen them score 2 or 3 goals with Calvert-Lewin getting on the score sheet and getting a brace or something like that, yeah, Calvert-Lewin would be in my team. But I'm not seeing that at the moment. I'm seeing a more defensive side. And Wolves, I don't know what I'm seeing with Wolves at the moment. They can score 3 goals, they can score nothing. I don't know. They've got this young, exciting attack, really. But they're too tough to call. In some of the kind of bench places, I may go for Wolves, I may go for Everton. Top tip though, for those looking on the desktop version of the game, Barry Douglas is still lurking around at 3.8. So if you're desperate for that 0.1, there is a 3.8 player you can get in. That's why I've got him in at the moment.
I forgot that actually. Yeah, that is a good tip, because I think you'd be harsh, or would be harsh, if you needed all 3 of your bench on a free hit team. It's very unlikely.
Yeah, I would like to. I think Mitchell could end up still playing. I just think he's going to concede. But I would be looking to using whatever I've got left, my 0.5, with this team to try and beef up either Mitchell or Davis, just to have some kind of credibility on my bench. I mean, maybe even Brewster at Sheffield United. He's going to get some minutes. He's a striker. He could score.
Yeah, I think the only other person I just thought about who could be your enabler if you went for Lacazette, and could be El Ghazi, of course, but there's Neto, I suppose, at Wolves.
Yeah.
But you're right, like that Wolves-Brighton game, I thought that would be like a 1-1 or something like that, and it ended up being 3-3, and I'm suddenly thinking, well, neither side can keep a clean sheet right now.
There was a predictability in that game, in that Brighton conceded from set pieces. This is what they do. They're awful. Dan Burn, have you seen saw the game or seen the clips of Dan Burn's amazing headed clearance?
He had a nightmare that game.
It's like when you're playing FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer and you suddenly forget which way you're going, and you think, oh no, I'm actually the attack, not the defense. So he did the stunning clearance when he could have just headed the other way into the goal and scored an amazing goal. So that's Brighton at the moment, but they did show some fight at the end. So that's why I've captained De Bruyne. I don't know if thinking of who to captain. Brighton set pieces are absolutely awful. De Bruyne, corners, free kicks, penalties. Yeah, he's the one I'm going to captain. He's the one I think has got the most chance of getting a good haul, hopefully.
Yeah, that was going to be my final question, because we're hopefully going to get out the normal captaincy video with you and David later on this week or early next week. And obviously, De Bruyne captain is going to be popular this week. Are you considering any other players? Obviously, you mentioned the Spurs boys. They haven't stopped scoring all season. Fernandes obviously on really, really good form as well. But is De Bruyne the one?
Yeah, De Bruyne is the one. Fernandes, Son and Kane. I think are really good captains or vice captains. Fernandes, I mean, he's just so reliable, isn't he? He's away as well. Kane and Son can always get a goal, even in these tough, very defensive games, as this one may well be. They're so reliable. I really like this season and towards the end of last season, being able to captain Kane and just relax and just think, well, might score. He's going to get 3 bonus as well with his goal, and it's quite a nice feeling. So I have a sense of security captaining Kane or Fernandes, but for me, De Bruyne, as a Brighton fan, watching Brighton's defence and set pieces, that's going to be horrific in real life, but in fantasy, good news for De Bruyne.
And for anyone that was wary about how good he was, they saw last night against Chelsea, and they're probably, I'd say, a lot of people are now kind of clamouring to get him in if they weren't already. So yeah, I think that's looking pretty solid. I'm trying to pick holes in it, but I can't really. I mean, there's, like you said, you could go for Lacazette, but I do think that's I wouldn't say knee jerky, because you have to adapt to when a team changes how they're playing or when they start getting results. But I mean, I wouldn't die on a hill saying Lacazette's a better option than Rashford, that's for sure. So I think 3-5-2 is going to be quite popular this week. I think strikers in particular are difficult because Martial could share minutes with Cavani. Calvert-Lewin, like you said, is out of form at the moment, not scored for a little while. And Watkins at Villa, when you've got Wilson against the worst defence so far this season, or at least for this week, it's difficult. So I think it's looking good.
Yeah, so fingers crossed it goes ahead. For those outside of the UK at the moment, there's lots of things in the news at the moment, so keep an eye on the news. It may well get postponed. It may well go ahead. All up in the air at the moment. But if you're feeling a bit reckless like me, just press the button.
Yeah, job done. And of course, we will have Scoutcast before Game Week 18 kind of takes off. So if there are any changes to the draft, obviously people can catch up in that, and there'll be more kind of in-depth talk and look at Game Week 18 as well. So make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already, and obviously hit the like button. Joe, thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
And
good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck all. Like I said, there'll be more tinkering obviously going on throughout the week. We'll have a few more drafts coming up, captaincy later on, hopefully this week, and then Scoutcast either at the end of this week or next week. We'll figure it out, but it'll all be coming before Game Week 18. So yeah, hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.